there's so much going on in the world that, and listening to this song, I did some, Barbara Streisand just released her memoir, and she's been doing a lot of interviews, and I listened to one on NPR, and it was really wonderful, and it talked about her relationship with Judy Garland, that when the first time that she met Judy Garland, she was 21, and Judy Garland was 41, and she was doing the Judy Garland show, and so when they sang a song together, one of the things that impressed Barbara Streisand more than anything was that when they sang a song together, Judy Garland grabbed her hand and just held on the whole time. She could feel it shaking, felt it a little clammy, and she could tell that Judy Garland was nervous. And at the time, she didn't understand why. I mean, she's a 21-year-old starting her career, and she's singing next to a powerhouse, right? Next to a legend. Why would she be so nervous? So it was something that she didn't understand until later on in her career. And Judy Garland died in her late 40s, I believe. So they had a really strong relationship. Really strong relationship is what Barbara Streisand tells. But it wasn't a very long one, because in less than, I would say, 7 or 8 years, Judy Garland passed away. But what Barbara talks about in that experience with Judy Garland was that she understood later that what was really going through is that fear of not being relevant anymore. Fear of having someone sort of append her or move her into a different direction, of not being where she was anymore. That's where that holding on to, where that fright, where that fear came from. And I think what I got from that is that when you place your truth, when you place who you are out in the world, allowing someone else to tell you that right now you're a legend, right now you're an icon, right now you are the it person. And as that sweeps into somebody else, and you allow that to take in, and I'm sure it's great, I'm sure it's grand, I am sure it's an amazing experience to have. But when you ground yourself in that as the only truth for yourself, it's really a house of cards, isn't it? It easily blows off. And that was the experience that Barbara Streisand said she had later on in her own career, experiencing that type of, is this the moment where I'm no longer relevant, and so on and so forth. And so I thought, I ran across a quote that, for me, meant a lot. It's from Socrates. The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but building the new. I'll read that again. The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but building the new. And so the reason that I woke up this morning at 3 o'clock is there's so much going on in the world right now. And I don't have to tell you all. I know it's affected all of us in a very deep way. And straddling that, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I listen to? Where can I be of service here? It's something that I'm still working through. But when I came across this, and I know this is going to be easy for me to say, standing as a woman whose children are safe at home, no one's been abducted, no one's been killed, there's no bombing around me. So when I say this, I know that I'm saying this from a very different place than from where people are all over the world, from the experience in Gaza, from the experience in Ukraine, from the experience in Africa, from the experience in so many places. I can say this comfortably. But I do say it because it is something that I have chosen to keep in my world, which is building the new. I imagine if we could move into building the new, bringing all of our energy into building the new, concentrating on something that is positive, concentrating on something that brings light, maybe we can change. I can only do what I can do from here. And I believe that is a lot because I know that there is energy that moves all over the world. And so if we can all concentrate on building new versus seeing what's old, fighting the old. Now, I definitely don't want to get too political because this is something that obviously is, again, a very deep and very fractured topic. But I do believe that it is our responsibility to bring our own energy to any situation that deserves a new outlook, a new love, an energy of change, but not changing by fighting what's old, but moving into a new version of light, of love. Bring that energy into it. Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was known as the teacher of all teachers, she is one of the pioneers of new thought, of religious science. Ernest Holmes, Thomas Stroh, a list of who we call, our philosophical, our spiritual gurus in this teaching. She was their teacher. And when she was in treatment, and in treatment meaning when she was in affirmative prayer, when someone came in front of her and asked her to do a treatment for her, to do a prayer for them, she always left the condition out. She only stayed. She didn't ask about what the issue was. She didn't ask about what was going on. All she stayed in was the positive of what that person was looking for. So for someone coming in looking for health, for a new job, lack, or getting rid of lack, she did not ask them what was going on. She asked them what they were looking for. And in that, affirming that type of prayer, that type of knowing. And I think we need to switch into that, all of us. I know we all live in this world where I know there's a lot in my life that I'd love, a new experience that I'd love to have, a new experience with myself, with my children, around my world. And with everything that's going on, I realize that I have to also be responsible for a greater world in order to see the change in my world. And my responsibility comes from the energy that I give out into this world, right? Ernest Holmes says, never let anything cause you to doubt your ability to demonstrate the truth. I'll read this one again too. Never let anything cause you to doubt your ability to demonstrate the truth. Because there's so many times where we're butt up against, like, you can't do that. Oh no, that's, can't happen. How many people in history have butted up against, you can't do something, or that's crazy, you're mad. And yet they moved forward and moved the needle in whatever directions, in science, in spirituality, and in the internet is here because someone pushed the needle forward. Cars are here because someone pushed the needle forward. But we have to know that we can do that each and every one of us have that ability because it is our birthright. We are born with this ability. It's not something that comes out of magic. It's not something that just all of a sudden, like, if I read enough books by Thomas Stroh and Ernest Holmes, I will be able to do this. It's not a math figure. It is already done. It really is. And that's the belief that we must have in being able to demonstrate the truth. As it's written in the Bible, faith the size of a mustard seed moves mountains. Have you ever seen a mustard seed? It's pretty tiny. That faith alone can move a mountain. Imagine what your faith can do in this world and not letting anything knock you off of that, not letting anything tell you that you can't do that. But also understanding the responsibility that it's not just in our own world, but it's in the world at large. It's in our communities. It's in our friends. It's in people that we don't know, countries we've never visited. Those are our responsibilities right here. So again, when I woke up at 3:30 this morning, I chose to stay in peace. And I continue to stay in peace. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last. It might last to the 405, and that'll change. But I'm going to remind myself that this is my commitment, not just to myself, but to the entire world. Because that's the kind of, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, little caveat. But that's the type of commitment that Jesus had when he was out in the world. He was committed to something throughout the world to change. And I'm not saying just give everything up and start wandering the world and having people touch your gowns like mine. But what I am saying is to have the consciousness to know that you affect people all over. People that you meet, people that you don't meet. Your consciousness is the one consciousness that is. And if there's only one consciousness, which is what we believe, what we know, what we have faith in, if that is the truth, and there is only one consciousness, we can affect change everywhere, anywhere, within ourselves and with each and every person that we come into contact with and those that we don't know. And we have to know that. We have to live that. We have to live by that. And so today, I choose to stay in peace. A couple days ago, I had the opportunity to take my daughter to yoga. And I think probably that started that whole, it started unearthing something in me, because there we were in yoga class, and I thought to myself, I'm like, is this the first time I'm going to be with my daughter for an hour and a half and she's not on a phone? It might be true. Actually, she might say the same thing about me, if I'm going to be honest. But we're so easily distracted, right? And being in this class, to have the ability to move energy, to be in this state of grace, no matter what we were doing, no matter what position we were in, just inhaling in and exhaling out and staying in that state of grace, staying in that energy of I can't even describe it. But it was so powerful for me. It was so beautiful for me. It was so both affirming and changing in that instant. And so what I realized is I get distracted a lot too. Maybe not all the time on my phone on TikTok, but I get distracted a lot too on my TV. I decided when I moved out here to Westlake Village that I was not going to put a TV in my room, because I tended to fall asleep to the TV. It was that noise. And what came across was that the first few nights were really difficult. I actually had to take my iPad out and put something on Netflix just to have. I felt like a New Yorker moving to Montana. You know what I mean? I just needed that chatter to be happening. And when I decided to stop doing that, there was so much chatter in my head that I realized the reason I do that is because I don't want to hear the chatter that's in my head. And a lot of the chatter is not even mine. It really isn't. It's a commercial. It's a housewife fight. I don't know what's in my head. But allowing myself to no longer watch something that distracts me from what's going on made it very easy for me to go, oh my God, what have I been allowing in my brain, in my mind, in my thoughts, in my beliefs that I didn't even realize that I did? That's the power that I had from changing. What am I engaged in? So a couple weeks ago, I was in CSL Pleasant Valley, and we had sort of a roundtable conversation, and this also stuck with me. We started talking about what it is that you'd like to expand in your life. Do you all know what it is that you'd like to expand in your life? Do you know what you'd like to see expanded out there? Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes it's I actually know what I don't want, and then you have to look at that. Because it goes back to what it is that we're contemplating. It goes back to what it is that Socrates was saying, isn't it? Okay, great, you know what you don't want, but what do you want? What is it that you're trying to build? What is it that you're trying to create? Not fight the old. I know I don't want this, I know I don't want this, I don't know, okay, great. But that's just fighting the old, isn't it? What do I want? What do I want to create? So what is it that I ask you? And maybe you answer it today to yourself, and maybe you think about it when you go home, but what is it that you're expanding? What is it that you would like to expand? And then my next question is, what are you contemplating? What is it that you're actually contemplating? When I no longer started watching TV at night, I realized what I was contemplating. A bunch of nonsense. A bunch of nonsense. And yes, I sprinkled my own consciousness in there. I was aware enough to know what it is that I want to create in my world. So when I am conscious about what I want to create, I am conscious of it. But this helped me discover what I am unconscious about, what I'm giving my time to that doesn't deserve my time. This is another quote from Socrates. Be aware of the barrenness of a busy life. And I want to say, be aware of the barrenness of a busy mind. He also says, wisdom begins in wonder. And so when I stopped watching TV, it allowed me to wonder about my thoughts and where they came from. It allowed me to wonder what was the chatter, that mundane chatter that's in there. And we all know we have it. I mean, we talk to ourselves, knowing that we talk to ourselves and not really understanding what it is that we're saying. And when we're catching ourselves in those instances when we're saying things that we don't want to say, you know, it's easy to go, don't think that. Wait, what? No, but I'm still thinking it. Yeah, replace it is what I'm here to say. Replace it with what it is that you'd actually like to build. But first you have to recognize, right, what you're contemplating. That's the first step. This is a quote from Aristotle. I probably should have put these up. I love these quotes. I don't know why I'm going with all the Greek philosophers today, but I am. Aristotle says, the energy of mind is the essence of life. The energy of mind is the essence of life. So the energy of mind with a capital M, that's the energy of the intelligence, of God, of source, of the universe, of love, whatever it is that you choose to call it. The energy of mind is the essence of life. So knowing that mind is capable of doing anything and everything, knowing that mind just wants to expand and grow and experience, that is the essence of life. Expansion, growth, experience. That's the essence of mind with a capital M. And we are all it. Because as I said from the beginning, there is no separation. There's no me and. As Meister Eckhart says, between God and me, there is no in between. We are all this essence. But what happens is we choose to contemplate something different. I just want to, Francisco, during our meditation, had a really wonderful quote that actually he came up with. And I might be paraphrasing, so forgive me. But essentially it was, appreciation opens the heart and allows for you to remember who you are and release the contingencies of, what is it? Release the expectations of? Release the expectations of a conditioned mind. Appreciation opens the heart to know who you are and releases the expectations of a conditioned mind. A conditioned mind, that's what we tend to bring to mind, our mind, which is conditioned. So, the title of my talk today, I probably should have, Lori did this for me, and I love it. The divine is in the details. Isn't that beautiful? I love how Lori was able to sort of hone in on the butterfly wing and then expand it out. The divine is in the details. And I'm sure we've all heard the devil's in the details. And this is attributed to the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, although it's not confirmed, but people think that he brought this about, which essentially means that your successes and failures are in the details, in the small details of whatever it is that you're creating. But the truth is that this quote was actually, the quote was by a German architect before the devil is in the details. It was, God is in the details. That was the actual quote that came before the devil is in the details. God is in the details. And the reason this, and I don't want to say his name because I know I'll chop it up, but I'm sure you can look it up on the internet. The reason he said that was because when he would put his heart and his love into his work as an architect, and whatever it was that he built, he felt so proud of it. He felt that there was an energy that moved through him to create this beauty. And for him, that was God. And so he would always say, God is in the details. So that every detail of his project was thought through with an energy of love, with an energy that he brought that was even bigger than he is, and he recognized that. And so I like to say the divine is in the details. Because if we're moving towards really listening to what we speak, what we hear, what we say to ourselves, what we're contemplating, the chatter that's in our heads, I'd much rather prefer to think about the divine in the details versus the devil in the details. I want to know that every approach that I can comes from a place of success, comes from a place of love, comes from a place of wonder, right? And not from a place of, oh crap, I hope I didn't F up, you know? I don't want to make a project. I don't want to experience that in life. I want to experience the divine in life. So by experiencing the divine in life, my question again to you is it possible you are more focused on your biggest fears than your biggest desires? There's a desire that we all have, right? Desires. There's so many things that we'd like to experience, so many things that we'd like to have, desires. But what sometimes, and I'll speak for myself, I know this for a fact, and I'll tell you why I know this for a fact, because Francisco and I recently started doing Global Truth in Espanol. And it's online, it's on YouTube, and it's on Facebook. But I, thinking of the devil's in the details back in the day, waited a long time before I started doing this project because I wanted to make sure it was perfect. I wanted to make sure it was right. And Francisco just said, let's just do it, and we'll figure it out. Seeing the divine in it, seeing the divine in our project. And poof, there it is. Because someone saw the divine when I contemplated something else. So what I'm inviting you to do is think about what your desires are. Think about what it is that you're contemplating. Think about what you want to expand. And think about what is in your mind. Because I will leave you with this quote by Ernest Holmes. Let the inner ear listen to the voice of truth that is always speaking. Namaste.